Hold on.
We got the whole music.
It's gonna start like right now.
I
All right. How's everybody doing? Hey Nick, can you turn off your sound?
if I turn off my sound, how will I hear you?
Well then you have to close the YouTube app.
Oh, okay.
Or mute
there we
YouTube.
go.
Mute
Okay, that makes
YouTube. That's how. Yeah.
There we go.
There you go. Anyway,
Alright.
that strange mystery person that I don't know who it is yet, and you don't know either. We'll figure out soon because this is Brian's basement. I'm Brian. This is my basement, and we do have a very special mystery guest, and we'll be introducing him shortly. But before we do, I'm going to play a song of my own. This is a song that I wrote a while ago now, and it's a song that I have to preface it pretty much with a with a disclaimer almost because of a comment that former alumni of the show Joe Walla made. Where what's that? That maybe he said that the song sounds like nostalgic for the past, and it's making things seem like they were better back then than they are now. And I don't believe that for almost anything. And so I have to preface that this song is not about things were better 30 years ago. In many ways, they were much, much worse. But that the things that we were taught when we were young, but don't always hold up under scrutiny. And you really have two paths. You can either settle on those things and be angry when people notice that there's problems, or you can embrace them. So this is a song kind of about that. It's called Born in America. I was born in a nation of opportunity, but the rungs on the social ladder have rotten away, governed of the rich and by the rich and for the rich. I was born in America, but I don't live there today. I was born in a nation of justice, and if you kill a man, then you should have to pay. And there's still Wall Street criminals still running wild and free. I was born in America, but I don't live there today. Everybody knows what I'm saying. Everybody knows we need change. And everybody knows, and yet we're still stuck in our ways. I was born in America, but I don't live there today. nation of compromise. But now we fight and we divide till we get our way. And we will crumble beneath the weight of our own vanity. I was born in America, but I don't live there today. I was born in America, but I don't live there today. All right, thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in this week. Like I said, we have a very, very special guest. So at this time, I'd like to introduce him. You may know him from a previous episode when we talked about him quite a bit. He is a member of Jamwave and many other projects around the city. So please help me welcome Nick Fed. Woo, how's it going, Nick?
Hey, Brian.
Hey, man. How are you today?
Dude, I'm doing all right. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here too. Thank you so much for doing this, as always. Now we've got a lot to talk about. So how about we jump right in with the song, and just jump right in. So what are you gonna play for us?
All right. So we'll get into responding appropriately to the things that need to change in the world. It almost feels facetious to come out the gates with a like breakup type song, but those are the songs that I write. So
yeah, and no, I don't think that there's I don't think that there's anything intrinsic. We'll talk about all of this. Yeah. So what's what's the song? What's it called?
So I haven't released this yet, but this is called The Family Stone. That was just like the first holiday chick flick title I think of.
Okay.
And it's like going back for the holidays and seeing your family and not bringing your girlfriend because you just broke up with her and having to like talk about it and all of that.
Oh, yeah.
So
cool.
Yeah.
So this is Nick Fed with The Family Stone, a Brian's Basement exclusive.
Oh yeah. Snow's slow falling and I am stalling to broach what neither wants to say. Warm and covered, we found each other. We'll starve if we don't leave the cave. But no one's first to pull away. You're right to question our vague direction, 'cause I was thinking the same thing. We sit there listening while flames are hissing. It's cold, but it's time to put it out. Can't wait till it's what I'm asked about. I'm home at the door. There's something baking, so I can't ignore my heart that's breaking. Don't ask me for updates. And these holidays are warm and messy, leaving a space for a sappy ending. But the story's not the same. Writing it without your name. We're both brilliant and need fulfillment. A light shines covered for no eyes. To sit there and leave or willing, tearing down a cabin in the ice. With hopes it's replaced with something nice. I'm home at the door. There's something baking, so I can't ignore my heart that's breaking. Don't ask me for updates, 'cause these holidays are warm and messy, leaving a space for a sappy ending. But the story's not the same. Writing it without your name. But the story's not the same. Writing it without your name.
All right. Thanks, man. That was great.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we're going to start talking about a little bit of how you got started in music. Just a reminder to all the viewers out there, if you've got a question or a comment or a general shitpost of any nature, feel free to throw that right in the comments, and we can get that read on the show. Uh,
I encourage shit
Yeah,
posts.
I know. Me too. I have been this whole time, and we've seen a big decrease in shit posts. So let's see if we can rectify that tonight. So Nick, let's get started with a little bit of origin story type stuff here. Um, well, it's just as like a kind of introduction thing. You're involved with a lot of different things around town, both as a musician, as a songwriter, and even doing like production stuff. Can you just tell us a little bit of like the different projects you're in and kind of what you're up to in normal circumstances?
Oh, for sure. I mean, obviously, COVID has messed things up, but yeah, a multitude of projects. I love that phrase. I actually made a list. The number one thing right now is I really want to catch up on my own writing
Yeah,
and my own music, which is why I'm stoked to be here doing this. Um, like, I think I do better work as a collaborator, but I need to balance that with my own voice, or else it's off balance.
sure.
Um, I'm playing in a band called Up and Down. It's Cincinnati's most underrated band. Here, I'll draw the logo for you. We are, I mean, it's me, John Berkey, Brian Davies, Archie Niebuhr. We just put out a video that we've had like forever. We're working on an EP. Their drummer, John, and I, we teach music together, and we're playing bass, or I'm playing bass with him in Real Blue Heartache Kids, which is another person's project. Jamwave is just waiting for today when we can do shows again. But I worked with Grant, our percussionist and backup singer, on some solo material, and we're backing up Jamil Zion like for a couple acoustic songs on his live stream. He's like a hip hop R&B type guy. And of course, like on the side, I teach music, I do video editing, and I do a lot of communications in United Methodist land. Like we should compare notes on day jobs and like how you make it work, you know?
Yeah, I actually I've thought about that as a topic, but I try to not talk about it because I hate my job, so I don't I don't talk about it. But anyway, that is so cool that you're so involved. In all of these different things, and also doing different roles in all these things. Can you talk a little bit about like how you got started playing music, and then kind of the path that led you to be kind of such a multi instrumentalist and writer and producer and all that? Like, how did you approach like starting with like what was the nugget that started it, and then how did it branch out from there?
I mean, I'm blessed to come from a supportive and encouraging family where it's like when I had the urge to take the cardboard out of a calendar, you know, like when you get a calendar, there's that cardboard piece that comes with it
Sure.
that like, holds it in place. Like, I'm going to make this into an album cover when I'm 3 years old. And it's like, yeah, here you go. Take the markers, go to town. And like, having equal interest in like Legos and Playmobil and having a tape recorder. Like it wasn't long before I just really got into self-expression and doing music. I decided I wanted to play the clarinet because it sounded cool on the Casio keyboard that I had growing up.
Yeah, totally, totally.
But like I did not picture guitar taking over my life like it did. It's just like I always kind of found solace in music when I was sad or stressed out. And I don't know where the idea came of like, oh, what would it be like to play these songs on guitar, or what would it be like to write my own? But it just kind of came from somewhere else. I just was like literally having dreams about playing guitar. I was watching the hands of the people on MTV and being like, oh, like that looks hard. That doesn't look hard. And it wasn't going to be like this thing that was like my identity and like my way of talking to people, my way of like making friends and getting dates and stuff like that. It was just like this was going to be one outgrowth of my life as a teenager, like getting to high school and maybe getting like my 3-point percentage above like 5%, like it was just going to be one more thing that I did, but then it just took over and it clicked for me. It was something that I wanted to do. I never had to force myself to play guitar, and it just kind of grew from there. I guess that's kind of an answer, right?
No, that's totally an answer. I mean, I think that you can a lot. I've done it on this very show, just breaking it down to like a moment, but it really is a progression. That's something that I think that if you just want to do, and that's how you respect your, if that's how you oh God, what? Not respect yourself. If that's how you express, if that's how you
Yeah.
express yourself, then that's it. Just comes out that way. So, about what time is this guitar like starting to take over? Like, are you in middle school, high school, earlier, later?
Well, it's funny, like, I wanted to play guitar starting like summer before high school, but I was like embarrassed to talk about it, believe it or not. Like, I didn't want all the cliches about like, oh, you got your first real six string and you played until your fingers bled, blah blah blah. I just had to like feel not self-conscious about it, and it kind of worked out in a roundabout way because 9/11 happened, and it was that Saturday that I was at home, and like I think we were trying to do like normal life as a family, just hanging out around the house, and my dad was playing on the piano and trying to figure out this chord in a Dave Matthews song, and we
Oh,
couldn't figure it out, believe it or not. And so we went to the music store to buy a sheet music book for Dave Matthews Band. And then it's like, okay, there's guitars in here. I'm gonna go and look at them. And man, this is actually a pretty badass origin story. Because are you a Dave Matthews Band fan?
I'm not. I am not like a power fan, but I do respect his definitely his ability on guitar for sure.
Oh, for sure. I could be totally misremembering this, but there's this Dave Matthews riff that's like a. And I mean, you could play it with open strings. Dave, being a masochist, just probably playing it like this, in some god awful,
Sure.
painful way. But like, I picked up a guitar and I just like figured out how to play that riff on my own. I'm like, well, shit, here we are, And I got a acoustic electric as a compromise because it's like, oh, I need to take lessons and build my strength up on an acoustic. But yeah, that was the Saturday after 9/11 as a 14-year-old. I got a guitar. I just wanted to play on it whenever I got home from school. The marching band at my school where I played saxophone also had a jazz band, and it's like, well, learn how to read jazz charts and join the jazz band because the senior is going to be graduating, and when you're a sophomore, you'll need to take his spot, and it's just kind of grown out from there. So
Yeah, that's. I think it's interesting what you said about being self-conscious about playing the guitar at first,
yeah.
because so many people get into it because it's a cool thing to do,
Oh yeah.
and but then once you start learning and you're like, oh, this doesn't sound cool at all. Like when when I play the guitar, it's not a cool thing at all. I think that's just, and but I think that if you stick through it, and it sounds like that you kind of found different avenues to learn a lot of different things. Then it starts to become kind of what you thought it would be. I think it's really interesting also that you mentioned the jazz band and some of the more the lessons in the music reading stuff because your playing is so intricate and complicated that that's kind of what I kind of half expected from that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's honestly how that stuff comes about is like, are you familiar with the Dunning-Kruger effect?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's like the more you know about something, the more you realize you don't know.
sure.
But it's like for me, there's always been enough of a dangled carrot that I caught pretty easily. Like when I was struggling and starting out, like, yeah, I was struggling trying to make the F chord, and you spend like months trying to do that. But
Years
then
for
it's
some
like,
people.
oh, here's another what?
I said years for some people, meaning me. But
Years,
yeah.
years. But then it's like, oh, well, I can do this. And I could play like other riffs that I like. So there was always this dangled carrot of like something that came easy to have me stick with it and feel satisfied with it to make up for the stuff that wasn't coming easy. Like I still struggle to play like Cute Without the E by Taking Back Sunday just because that's. And I've been trying to play that riff for 15 friggin' years, so there's always
Was that
those.
not it? Because that sounded good to me. I think we talked about this on the
No.
last episode too. But yeah. So other than you mentioned Dave Matthews.
Yep.
I'd like to ask this question about. So I feel like there's like kind of three big chunks that make up a songwriter, a singer songwriter type person. Is that like there's the performance aspect, the
Yep.
writing, and the musicianship. So I'm assuming that Dave Matthews is definitely in that musicianship category. But who are some of the other people from each of those categories that kind of like guide you on where you're trying to go?
Oh my God. I I confess I do this a lot. I was only hearing half of what you were saying because I was reading the comments. I want to say
Oh, is there a
hi.
comment?
Yeah. Hi Tanner. Hi Julio. Hi Michaela. Thanks for tuning in. Um, I think it's funny because it's like performance is in terms of like the aspects of how I look on stage and how I look in pictures and like what vibe I'm trying to create or whatever. Just thinking about that stuff stresses me the hell out. But but if I'm just playing music and concentrating on sounding as good as possible and enjoying what the other people are doing on stage, like kind of the more communal, like a drum circle in the woods kind of energy, I can get down with. So I really like anytime I'm watching a band or watching a video of a band and you can tell they're having fun and they're into it and they're communing and they're making something greater than themselves, whether it's like noisy stuff or catchy stuff, you know? But yeah, okay. So where am I going with this? I guess like what I really like, and this is why I put 90s rock as an influence, is like Foo Fighters, Elliott Smith, some Nirvana, just that whole time period where there was an emphasis on interesting guitar textures, where the music was mixed a certain way, where there was a lot of dynamics to the drums and the bass, and analog plays a role in that. But I really like artists who are kind of auteurs, like Dave Grohl did the first Foo Fighters album all by himself. Elliott Smith did Either Or pretty much all by himself.
Yeah,
Tanner, you did the first Real Blue Heartache Kids record pretty much all by yourself, and it's got its own sound and its own cool like vibe to it. That's kind of where the camera.
yeah. I mean, I think that's totally a thing. You can tell when people do that sort of thing when they just go and they just do it all themselves. I've personally been inspired by that methodology a lot too. Well, dude, I think that's a pretty good cover of the origins. Is there anything else? Anything else we should know?
Let's see.
Or you can just jump into another song. I'll give you the option on that.
All right, yeah. So I've got some debate kind of on like what I want to play. So I pretty much have picked out what I'm going to close with. I think I will probably play this one because I'm pretty comfortable with it. This is semi-autobiographical. It's called Beggarsfield instead of Bakersfield.
Okay.
And it's like, you know, feeling alienated from OTR and like all the hipster stuff downtown and, you know, telling people and making social media posts that it's like because you're super woke about fighting gentrification and fighting injustice, but it's really like you're just mad that a girl you liked is going around OTR with somebody new. So it's
All right, cool. So this is Nick Ved with Beggarsfield.
It's like, why are you smiling? People are dying. Prices are rising. You're not criticizing. You and your cool friends do all the new trends while I lay on the pavement, an unshaven vagrant. I should have stayed away from this place. I should have stayed away from this place. Starved of the passion, thirsting for action. But say that I'm fasting if anyone's asking. With all of the dim wits musicianship. So I'll hang with the street bums, shaking their change cups. I should have stayed away from this place. I should have stayed away from this place. Wahoo, wahoo, wahoo. I should have stayed away from this place. I should have stayed away from this place. I should have stayed away from this place.
All right. Thanks, Nick. That was great.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about songwriting. What's your process look like from taking a song from an idea all the way to either just something on paper or to something recorded? And where do you find inspiration? Those are kind of two questions, but, have at it.
Oh, man. So it's like the big thing for me is the biggest struggle for me is coming up with lyrics. And I was a creative writing major just because I'm so concerned about how I'm going to come off, or I tend to judge a lot of lyrics and initially it's you're hardest on yourself with lyrics and stuff for picking that apart. But in terms of guitar textures and everything like that, I'll just get really inspired by a certain sound. Not that one. That's good. I'll be like, okay, these notes sound good together. I've got to record that and get that on my phone. That's the thing I've learned too. You've got to capture an idea when you have it, or you might forget it.
Dude, I've known that for years now, but have not learned to actually do something about it. But it's so right. I'll play a chord progression. I was like, oh, this is sick. This will make a killer song, and then I can't remember it a day later.
You've got to grab it as soon as you have it. And I mean, that's the one thing that's good about this is we have a computer in our pocket all the time. Record it, record a video of yourself, record an audio thing, have it. Because it's I have 100 voice memos that I haven't gone through yet, but one of those might be a really good song that someone else likes or that changes my life,
Yeah, totally. So you're just going through recording things, and then when you write, so do you anyway, it sounds like you're a music first person and then the lyrics.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, I am too, but on a much dumber level than you are probably, because I'm chord progressions only, and it sounds like, what are you thinking of besides chord progressions? You mentioned textures, and when do you put the melody down?
Well, this is a big Elliott Smith thing too. Is if you have that voice leading thing where you're paying attention to the top note of what you're playing on guitar.
Yeah.
Sometimes the melody can kind of write itself. So if I'm pretty sure that's the Ocarina of Time from.
Yeah.
But
wow, yeah, that's fascinating. I feel like I could learn so much from just being a better musician. But what are you gonna do, right? So one of the things you mentioned early in this episode was that when you feel like you aren't flexing your writing muscles and just doing the supporting thing, that you sometimes feel off balance. Can you describe that and kind of the difference between being the front man and just being the lead guitar player?
I mean, it's a love-hate relationship with being out in front, because I still honestly don't know what the best path is for me. I mean, I'm going to do this until my hands or my ears stop working, even if I'm 70 and I only have a dozen fans, I'm going to keep doing this no matter what. But obviously, I hope to reach a wider audience and, make more of a living off of what I'm doing. But it's like, what's really my destiny is like, am I going to do my best work if I'm like the Lindsey Buckingham of a band where I'm like a big writer and a big voice, but I'm not the guy in front all the time? Am I going to do my best work as like a Dave Grohl type front person? And I think like, no way, I can't run as fast as he can. And I get out of breath if I try to do what Dave Grohl does. But yeah, so it's like, I'm still trying to figure out what my best shot is and where I make my best work. And there's advantages and disadvantages to each. But if I'm neglecting doing my own stuff and like going to open mics or like booking a show and being like, Justin, Luke, learn these 6 songs, I'll give you the money we're going to make. Let's just play this show. If I'm not doing that, I feel like I'm not even trying. I feel like I'm not living up to my full potential,
Yeah, and well, I think another thing is like, you can learn a lot about the other thing by doing the opposite, right? So like if you're just part of the band and you're you're like the lead guitarist, as you usually are, and if someone presents you with a song, if you've been practicing your songwriting things, you can contribute. You might not be the number one songwriter, but if you've had that experience, then you can say like, well, what about, you can throw your perspective in there. And likewise, if you're the songwriter, and you can learn from being a backing or the supporting musician that,
sure,
I can add these things, like just like we were talking about before with like, well, this melody like can write itself because I'm listening to like the texture of the guitar.
Yeah.
Like I feel like they can kind of feed on each other.
Yeah, I'm thinking in terms of that too. It's like there's always value in mindfulness is such a cliche. I can't claim to practice it, but there's always value in paying attention to things. There's always value in getting knowledge, and the knowledge you get being in a band makes you better at your own stuff. The knowledge you get getting good at your own stuff makes you better in a band. And like, it's just like the knowledge I get if I mess around with photography, thinking about composition and paying attention to things is going to make me a better writer and a better musician. Like in theory, it's just like being a better human is like it's a war on all fronts.
Sure. Oh, that's such a great way to put it. I love that actually.
And I'll say this too. It's like one thing I've learned being in bands as a sideman, I really like being challenged. I like when I have a good, healthy, nurturing relationship where it's like comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable, like where I get affirmation for good ideas, but people will also be like, this idea would be better if we didn't do what you're doing right here. So you grow from that. And on the other hand, like if you're in a band and you help write a song and you're not completely happy with what other people have done with it, it's like, great, take that note, put it under your hat and apply it to your own work. Yeah. It's just like go to a show and you see something you don't like, be like, okay, make a note. This didn't work. Don't do that, but that doesn't mean you have to disparage what they're doing. It just means you take that information and you get better at yourself,
Yeah, that's such a good, like a positive way to look at that. I try to do this. We have this kind of rule in my band, at least. It's just like no bashing other bands ever. Like
yes.
Never. Like they can do things that we don't like, but again, it's like what you say. Let's try to just avoid that for us, but no bashing other bands. One thing I thought was interesting, you mentioned the challenge, because I'm reminded of you at that Listing Loon show that we did. I was like right at the New Year. I was like really sick.
Joey,
Joey of Jamwave, for long time viewers of the show. He's on a previous episode. Joey gets up there and is like, well, I'm going to play a bunch of songs, Nick. I don't know if you know them, but let's just see what you remember. And sure enough, though, you pulled it out and absolutely shredded on the songs that he just pulled out of nowhere. How do you do that?
I feel like he had to be trolling,
like it was almost, and it was like it was really exciting as the audience, like, oh my god, what is going to happen here?
Yeah, I guess that's why you like watching someone on a tightrope or watching someone juggle knives. It's like don't screw it up, don't screw it up. I'm trying to keep it PG-13 on my language here if I can,
Oh,
but
yeah. Go. You
uh,
do whatever you gotta do.
I hear my godson, hi William, might watch this on recording later, and I just want to like set a good example. Even though I would normally be dropping f bombs left and right, I want to do my best. Yeah, we were talking about like how I do that. I mean, what it really is it's people say it's perfect pitch, but what it really is it's just kind of like I have a huge cross-reference database in my mind. Like if I hear this, I know that's the first chord of Breakfast at Tiffany's, which is a D. So it's like I'll hear something, I'll be like, oh yeah, that's the first chord of Breakfast at Tiffany's. That's
Oh,
it.
interesting.
So in my mind, I know like I've heard these Jamwave songs so many times. I remember how they go more or less. Sometimes my fingers don't remember, but I generally remember how the songs go. And so I just get up there and I'm like, okay, well, it's the first chord of Hey Jealousy followed by the first chord of that December is song. Okay, my hands are supposed to go like there. So
That's cool, man. So I want
yeah.
to talk about some of your releases that are on your Bandcamp.
Oh
and
yeah.
and specifically, so we've got 2018's Dumpster Fire and Echo
Yes.
Alpha 2016. And the one thing that I noticed, they were super fun to listen to. They definitely have that like that fun aspect to them, which I always pair you and Joey because I know you guys are like super
Oh, yeah.
close. So like I always think about you guys in terms of that. But one of the things I wanted to ask you about was you recorded those via cassette on a Porta Studio. Is that correct for both of them?
Okay, yeah. So Echo Alpha was songs that I did when I was in grad school, and I did those on a Porta Studio. The first New Year's gig I ever played in my life was with a band called Illicit Kitty in Columbus. I got $120. I was ecstatic. And the next day I went on Craigslist and started looking for people who had the Porta Studios, those cassette 4 tracks, because I wanted to have the experience of recording on one. And yeah, I did that. And then Dumpster Fire is pretty much all on an 8-track cassette. It's actually right over here. Let me walk 3 feet here.
Yeah.
My
Because
friend Adam was nice enough to lend me this. This is a Yamaha MTX8, and it records 8 channels of audio, only 4 at a time, but onto just a plain old cassette tape. So
why the cassette? No, I just should mention to people out there. Um, a lot of people do stuff on cassette. I've done stuff on the cassettes, and it sounds very cassette-y.
yeah.
This does not, though. And so, can you explain a little bit about just why the Porta Studio, why the cassette, and why that
Oh,
works for
sure.
you?
So going for your music, like you've mentioned, you're a big John Darnielle Mountain Goats fan,
Oh
right?
yeah, totally.
So I guess when John Darnielle was recording on a boombox in the 90s, like first of all, smartphones weren't invented yet, but that was just like the style, like the crappy kind of hum, the cha-cha-cha-cha of the boombox and
Yeah.
everything was like that was a stylistic choice. And there's probably things I imagine you like about the style of like a cassette type
I could do
sound.
an entire episode talking about that probably, but yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Oh yeah. For me, it's more like I wish I had a 2-inch reel to reel and 24 tracks, but I don't. And cassette is the closest way to get to that sound that I like because like if I'm listening to a vinyl of like Led Zeppelin 4, Van Halen's Fair Warning, which I don't actually have on vinyl, Miles Davis's Kind of Blue, like if I'm listening to a vinyl recording in that room when that band played, they moved sound through the air into the microphone. That microphone made it into electricity. It went to the tape, it went to the record. You are hearing uninterrupted waves of sound that these humans made. And like, yeah, turning it into zeros and ones doesn't like ruin that per se, but there is something magical about listening back to an all analog recording. So even if the stuff's just going to end up getting streamed on a phone anyway, I'm trying to get that magic, that excitement that I get listening to other people's music on vinyl in my own music.
Yeah, and I think so. Yeah, so like if you'll hear people talk about analog, and if you're out there watching, you're like, well, what does that mean? I think that was the perfect example. That was the perfect explanation of what that means. It really is the closest thing to the sound waves, because analog just means that it's not it's not digital. It's wavers. It's natural, whereas the digital
Yeah.
is a very artificial thing. One of the things that I wanted to ask you about this just so I could talk about tapes too
Yes.
for a little bit. But like one of my favorite things about I have a 4-track that tragically is no longer functional. But one of my favorite things about recording to tape is the user interface of recording. Because when you have a Porta Studio or you have a cassette player, you hit the button and you play into it. And then you
Yeah.
hit the stop, and if it's good, you're done. If it's not good, you do it again. When you get computers in the mix, you have to set up the software and set up the inputs, outputs, get all your software going. You can cut, you can slice, you can do all this stuff, and it's such a giant distraction.
There's so one of my favorite YouTubers is Adam Neely, and he talks about this too. He used this example from Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, where it's like,
Nice.
if you are writing, if it's like describe this street, it's like, oh my God, where do I begin? I have so many ideas. But if it's like write about this brick, okay, I have to focus. And like a limitation can make you focus. And the limitation of tape, it's good or it's not. I'm not going to mess with the plugins. I'm not going to try to choose which take is good. It's good or it's not. That's it. Like that. That's where it's at for me.
Yeah.
You nailed it.
Yeah. And how do you get? Because your sound very clear and good, even on a cassette. What are some of the techniques that you use using a Porta Studio to get that kind of clear sound? It is still, I will say, like it's still considered lo-fi for sure. But it's not like grainy. It's not wavery. There's not a lot of background noise. It's pretty clear. So how do you get that? How do you get that high quality from a cassette tape?
Well, there is a digital stage. I mean, I dump the Porta Studio individual tracks into Logic, and I'll do some EQ and compression. There's something called parallel compression, where it's like you squish the drums and then you leave another channel of the drums unsquished and you blend them. EQ, just kind of notching out high frequencies and low frequencies. Like if you want the kick drum to stand out more, you cut away where the kick drum would be on the guitar. But you can do that all on your Porta Studio too if you're planning. It's like, okay, I'm recording this drum track. I'd better boost the low end so the kick comes through. And I recently learned there's a dirty secret on guitar too. Like around 2K, I learned this from Brandon Coleman, one of the jazz guys in town. Around the 2000 or 2 kilohertz frequency, there's always like this kind of nasally nastiness to a guitar track. So if you do just like a notch and cut it out there, your guitar track sounds better. But you can do that on your Porta Studio without a computer. You just find that spot on the EQ and be like, okay, I'm going to take that out. So you can do, and it's a fun challenge to try to do that all kind of organically on tape.
Yeah, I think that's super cool. I would love to just. I was talking to Adam Yust of Peaceful Sorrow, also alumni of the show. He was telling me about all the stuff that he's doing with the production, and I feel like I could just dig in on that for like a whole episode. But I do want to keep it moving because I really want to talk about our next topic and give it the time it deserves. So how about a song, and then we'll go into the topic about current events.
This transition couldn't be better.
Oh, well, I'm a pro. It's been 13 freaking weeks, so here we are.
I listened to this song on my Porta Studio last night to remember the lyrics. This song is called Shots Fired, and I wrote it about like being a privileged United States resident, kind of looking at poverty and looking at war around the world. And yeah, I mean, I guess there's some stuff in there about racism and classism, and just like looking at this stuff and it being something that you scroll through on social media, but you have to choose to connect with it and not just see it as like another thing to scroll past. Like it's not another Instagram model. It's not another ad on Facebook. It's real life. And so I'm going to do my best to not screw this up. I think this is the first time anybody's ever heard this song, so I'm thankful to be here.
And what was the title again?
It's called Shots Fired.
All right, this is Nick Fed with Shots Fired, another Brian's Basement exclusive.
I've seen your homeland on the TV screen, scan lines, night vision green. I see the clatter and the clash of war, then go to kitchen and get some more. There's a bomb blowing overseas, another channel I can change when I please. All in all, you're just like me, but I'm the one who doesn't see that shots are going off. But I can turn them off. Shots are going off. I can turn them off. I've heard your life on my CD, about you coming up from the streets. It motivates me kicking office ass, or work it off in my spinning class. We sweat and bleed the same, but if I saw you head my way, I'd hold my breath until you passed, and not relax till you'd gone back, 'cause shots are going off. And I can turn them off. Shots are going off. I can turn them off, but it won't turn off for you. Not the way that I get to. Is there something else to do? But it won't turn off for you. Not the way that I get to. Is there something else to do? But it won't turn off for you. Not the way that I get to. Is there something else to do?
All right, thank you for that, Nick. So at this part of the show, I want to talk about some current events type stuff. I know that from being your friend and watching you on social media and stuff, that you think about this stuff too. And this is something that I've been kind of I want to talk about it from the musician's perspective more than anything. Basically, there's so much crazy stuff going on right now. And it's easy to feel very, very helpless and worthless as things just kind of speed past you. But I want to believe that writing songs, doing things to build empathy and to think and reflect, which I think are all things that you need to write songs. I want to think that matters. And so what I kind of just wanted to kind of just explore the space of that with you is like, what is the musician's role? And from somebody way up at the top with like a huge audience and and someone like me that has like a dozen fans. So like what do you think is like the role there? Like what do you do?
I mean, I haven't necessarily thought how to connect my guitar playing to remedying to responding to the injustices in the world. For me, putting music out there is putting beauty out in the world. It's a chance to connect with people. And I guess for that, the piece is, I think as a white person, I have a responsibility to listen to people who have had experiences that I haven't had. And I have a responsibility to learn from that and to challenge myself. and to be ethical about where I put my resources. I mean, on the one hand, it's like, are you familiar with the whole Bandcamp Friday thing?
Yes, I think that's an example of kind of what I'm talking about, which I think is a
Yeah.
great example of actual something that a musician can actually do for
Yeah.
anybody if you're out there.
Yeah. So Bandcamp, it started because of COVID, and I hope it's something that they continue. They wanted to let artists get more money, so they forego their 10% revenue share every first Friday, and that's like a day for bands to release special stuff and like get some money and some support. But what this first Friday was I was thinking about throwing something out on the internet and being like, okay, this is up here. I'm going to donate the proceeds to the Minnesota Freedom Fund, the Cincinnati Bail Fund for the people who were jailed for protesting. But what I ended up doing instead, it's like, I'm going to say, if you're looking at my page and I don't have a huge audience, it's like, go and look at what the Black artists in your community are doing and support them. And like, I bought Devin Burgess's beat tape, Say Their Names, which is these hip hop instrumentals, but there's samples of like the news stories about the people who died. It's kind of this meditative, reflective, and sad and beautiful piece. I bought the live album from the protest I went to on Sunday. I could go on and on about that. I bought JB Lamage's album. And like for my friends who are white, like Saturn Batteries, they decided
Love
to
Saturn Battery. Do you know those guys?
Yeah, yeah.
Do you think they'd be on the show? Sorry to completely interrupt with a inappropriate question more than anything, but anyway.
I'll talk to him. So yeah, it's a connection because like for the album Anything to Get Back by Saturn Batteries, Archie from Up and Down, our lead singer, plays bass and sings backups on that album, and I did a music video for it. But anyway, Saturn Batteries, for white dudes, white passing dudes, I don't know the whole story, but it's like they're like, okay, we're gonna put this album out for Bandcamp Friday, but we're giving all the proceeds to Black Lives Matter for the whole time this album is on the internet. 20 years from now, that's still gonna be how it is. And like that's one way that I think that I'm still chewing on this, and I have to be open to being uncomfortable. I think we all have to be open to being uncomfortable because things are fucked up, and we need to respond to them with an appropriate outrage to how messed up things are. But it's like what I can do right now, I think, as an artist who is white, is listen to people, be willing to challenge myself, be smart about where I spend my money, and be smart about how I spend my time supporting other people, and look for places where I can use my music and my video to uplift other people. I mean, in a way, like I'm doing a live stream with an R&B singer this weekend, and I mean, it's just something that I'm doing for fun, but it's also like I'm showing up as a good musician, not worried about getting paid on a project, just doing it and bringing my abilities into something to try to make something beautiful. I mean, I guess that's something. I don't know. It's complicated.
Yeah,
what do you
it's super tough, but I think what you said is right. Like the thing about the Fridays, and a lot of people have been taking that and donating it to causes, which I think is so fascinating because artists all over are hurting right now because they
sure.
financially because of the COVID-19, and they're still taking the money that they are getting and donating it to causes. And I think that the larger kind of what you're talking about is artists supporting each other as a community of writers. Like that is something that binds everybody together. And if we all build up everybody else around us, the whole will rise, right? And so I think that is a great way to look at that. And I do think that
Rise
like
tide,
yeah,
right?
and I think that when everybody supports each other, that's one of the best things we can do. And especially at this time, like you said, focusing on underrepresented artists in particular. Do you ever think about from a writing perspective? One thing that I wonder about is the protest songs. Are they out there? But why don't they seem as prevalent as they do as they did in the '60s, and should people be writing more protest songs? I
Yes.
don't know. Do you have any? We've got some
Oh,
live audience over here. I don't know if they want to weigh in, but why don't you, yeah,
yeah.
we'll get you. We can get you if you have any thoughts on it. But yeah, what do you think, Nick?
Okay, so I mean, I think it's a whole. I'm an intersectional guy. I think sexism, racism, homophobia, capitalism, classism, it's all related. But I mean, I think the reason that there aren't protest songs like there were in the 60s is because of a change in the music industry. Like in the 60s, the music industry for countercultural things, there's a fly on the screen, but the music industry for like Hendrix and Joplin and Sly and the Family Stone, that was like a nascent thing of an industry supporting this emerging movement of rock and roll and counterculture. But now the music industry is this big behemoth, this big monster where everything is very commercialized. And like, so when I had the privilege of filling in St. Lennox for South by Southwest and for some other stuff in 2017, Andy writes a lot. He has his own website called Big City Folks, and he writes a lot about this as an Asian American artist that, like, say you want to get your album reviewed on Pitchfork, Brian. Say you want to do that.
Yeah, I would love to do that.
Pitchfork only opens emails from certain publicists. So it's pretty much like if you want to get on Pitchfork, you have to have a relationship with one of these publicists. And these publicists have like contracts with a mandatory amount of time. So it's basically, it's like payola. Like if you want to get your album covered on Pitchfork and get the press, you have to put, several grand into paying this publicist to do that. And so it's like, is a poor black kid, first generation college student who doesn't have a trust fund, how are they going to get their album on Pitchfork? So it's like there's this harder climb to make meaningful music from people who don't already have money and don't already like have networking and connections. So I think that's probably why you're not going to hear as much. I mean, protest music exists. The beat tape that I bought, the live album that I bought on Bandcamp Friday, that's protest music, but it's local. And I mean, maybe it's like you got to think locally rather than nationally to like find your scene and like really connect with people. But yeah, I think there are endemic problems to the music industry right now that will keep a lot of really countercultural stuff from being heard.
Yeah, I think that definitely has something to do with it. It's because I think it's just like you said, the industry is so different now, and it's so fractured. Everybody can have a voice, but it's a very small voice. So you're not going to get like a Phil Oakes type guy, some record exec being like, take a flyer on this guy, and him throwing his protest songs out there. I've got my friend Alex here. He stopped by the basement just to hang out and say hi. And I know that he thinks about this stuff too. And I would just kind of, do you have any thoughts about where are the protest songs and what do you think the role of an artist is during this?
Yeah, I don't know about the role of an artist. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, is it coming through, Kim?
Cool.
Okay,
All
he
right.
can hear you.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about the role of an artist because I don't know. But one thing that I do want to mention that I'm not disagreeing with you guys, but I think it brings another element to the conversation is like the number 2 song streamed on Spotify last week was This Is America by Childish Gambino. And that came out 2 years ago. And the number 11 song was All Right by Kendrick Lamar. And that came out in 2015.
Yeah.
So, like, I do think that, like, there is a, like, resurgent idea of protest songs. I just don't think it fits what we originally thought was a protest song. Like, it's not, Crosby, Stills, and Nash jamming out about 4 Dead in Ohio. But the reason that became a protest song was because, like, crap like Kent State kept happening. Right?
Right.
Like, it wasn't just like this event came and then everybody played it because the major record studio had it for a week. It was because, like, this giant movement kept happening and people kept being like, this is like that. Let's amplify it. And so it had longevity. And I can kind of see those songs being the sort of new protest. I mean, I think they are. I mean, definitely This Is America. Like, yeah, I mean, they're protest songs.
Sure.
They are at their core. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's all I'll say.
that could be it. Yeah, thank you for your comments on that, because I think that's an excellent point. It's just that, like, the protest songs, and it's kind of in line with Nick's saying about the whole, about you gotta look local, because they might, like Alex is saying, they might not look like you think they're gonna look. They might be like a lo-fi rapper. They might be like a pop song. It could come from anywhere.
Yeah.
So I guess, like, and that could be another role. And getting back to what you said, Nick, just propping those things up. If you find a good one, tell somebody about it, right?
Oh,
Like
sure.
tell somebody that, like, oh, I saw this song and it had this crazy message. It was great.
Yeah. Someone else mentioned Kendrick in the comments, and yeah, that's right on.
Cool, man. Well, I mean, dude, thanks for getting on and sharing some of that stuff. Do you have any other closing thoughts? Any other things on this topic that you'd like to talk that have been on your mind? I know that for me, I've been thinking about this stuff a lot, and if you just got anything you want to shout out.
I mean, I think um I have mixed feelings on social media. Like, social media can be a great place to get informed and to listen to your friends and to give support to other people, but we cannot fall into the trap with social media of, doing things just to be seen. I was a religious studies major. I have a degree in that. So it's like there's the story of, like, don't do good things just to be seen. Like, do things because it's the right thing. And social media, it sucks because, like, everything is so public. You have to like have a public face on social media, and that's like where you get your information and where you share your information. But I think we have to be mindful about what we share, and we have to be mindful about not just doom scrolling. I mean, that happened with Corona. I was just doom scrolling endlessly, like waiting for updates on the vaccine, waiting to see how bad the numbers were. And it's like, I mean, I sang the song Shots Fired. Like, you don't want to overload yourself where that stuff just becomes another thing to see on social media. You have to, like, be mindful and remember that it's reality, and give yourself time to rest and recover and respond to that reality appropriately. I'm going on and on.
No,
But
no, no. I think you're absolutely right. And to me, one of the things, because I think a lot about tech, and I think a lot about these issues, and tech's kind of intersection with these
yeah,
issues. And one of the things that I've been thinking about, just as a musician, is just interacting with these issues on social media. Like you said, it can be a great way to get informed. It can be a great way to organize. It can also be a great way to be misinformed. It can be also a great way to divide.
oh yeah,
But I think that one of the things that I've kind of been thinking about is, outside of my tech brain, is that songs are a way, I think, a healthier way to deal with and experience these issues and be informed in some ways on these issues. And to me, building empathy, a song can build empathy and togetherness in a way that a post might divide, or
yeah,
a song can kind of transcend the words on the screen and evoke a feeling. And I guess that, like that's kind of what I've been thinking of as an artist, as far as, like, what could the role of a songwriter be. Because I think you're absolutely right. Like, it's fraught with overload just scrolling
yeah.
through that stuff.
Oh man, this is a perfect transition to my last tune whenever that time comes
You
too.
know what? I think we're good right now. Yeah. Let's. What do you got for us? What's that last song?
So this song is called Days Change, and it's like, if my obituary many years later thinks of me as a songwriter, it's like, this is a song I want to be remembered for, because it came about abstractly. It combined a chorus about one thing with a verse about a situation that isn't really referenced explicitly in the song. And I mean, that kind of can become this unconscious space to make it about whatever you want to be about. And I have a hard time writing that way. And it's just like, I finally pulled it off and did this, and I think this song ends up being about like the bad things in the world or the bad things that happen to you are not the end of the story. Like there's so much bigger. There's the universe is much bigger than that. There's going to be other experiences that go past that. And yeah, this song's called Days Change, and I hope that people like it.
All right, Days Change, Nick Fed on Brian's Basement.
So you took the first ride that came, and you left your friends out in the rain. Won't it be a big surprise when they're dancing, splashing far from your greedy eyes? World is moving forward, I can stay behind, content to let the rest of the light die. Ooh, they can take their time, I don't really mind. I will stay up till the days change. So you think you've made a great divide, that all your walls will stand with time. But like a children's castle on the beach, they'll be washed away by all the waves that you can't reach. World is moving forward, you can stay behind. You're free to hold the key and keep confined. Ooh, they can take their time, I don't really mind. I will stay up till the days change. Ooh, ooh, whoa. You can stay behind. You got to watch the rest of the light die. Ooh, they can take their time, I don't really mind. I will stay up till the days change. Yeah, they can take their time, I don't really mind. I will stay up till the days change. I will stay up till the days change.
All right, thank you so much, Nick Fed. That was great.
Thank you, Brian.
Dude, so before we go, do you have any plugs? What are you up to musically? What are you working on? Where can we find your music?
Okay, so my quarantine goal was to update my Bandcamp. Go to nickfed.bandcamp.com. Follow the Nick Fed music page or at Nick the Fed on Instagram. I swear to God, I'm going to get better at posting stuff. But yeah, Up and Down's dropping some tunes. I'm dropping a bunch of solo material. Hopefully I'll have some shows coming up sooner rather than later. And man, yeah, just thank you for having me.
Dude, thank you so much for being on the show. I really enjoyed this conversation. So I'm gonna play a song to close it, but if you just stay on the line, and after the funny music plays, it's like a minute long, but then we'll have a little chat, and then we'll get out of here. So again, thank you so much, Nick. I really appreciate it.
Dude, thank you, Brian. Thank you.
Right. Well, everybody, thank you for tuning in to another week of Brian's Basement. I'm so thankful for all the people that have tuned in, some every week. Mom, thank you. And everybody else out there that's commented and supported the show and stuff. It's been a really fun experience for me, and I hope that we can keep doing it. And thank you for your support. So I'm gonna play a song, one more song here. I've been thinking a lot about some of the topics that me and Nick were talking about, and there's a lot of like really scary things happening, and they keep happening over and over again, and it's very discouraging, and it's very strange. One of the things that I've noticed, and the thing that bothers me enough, despite the stuff on the surface, the very surface level stuff is horrifying all by itself. But another thing that's bothered me is the notion that one thing I've been noticing is that people keep reducing other people to numbers and statistics, and basically trades and transactions. It's from people saying, just disputing the COVID deaths. Well, 100,000 people have died. Like, people have died. To people putting kids in cages because the balance sheet says that it would be a strain on the system. To debating whether the merits of people being attacked by police. And trying to gain something from that argument to themselves, and this is the horrifying thing to me, is that people are being reduced to numbers. Now, I think that data is important. I work in data. I do think it's important, but it's important to help people when it's used to help people. And I am very disturbed by the amount of binary decisions and just numbered decisions and calculations on human lives. So this is a song about that. It's called Not a Transaction. I have walked for 1,000 miles. I have swam from shore to shore. Watched my cities burning down. Watched my brothers drown. And I'm knocking at the door. And the guardsman on the wall points a sniper to my chest. He says, "What have you ever done for me?" And although I try my best, I am weak and I am small, but I am not a transaction. Far, far away in a tall, tall building, there's a young man in a suit running down the halls, waving papers in the air, and he says, "I have found the proof. Don't you see it's very plain? And the numbers just don't lie. You're a burden to the state, a smudged number on the bottom line. And I try my best to explain that I am not a transaction." Thank you so much, everybody, for tuning in to another week of Brian's Basement. I really appreciate it. Until next time, be kind to each other and
Yes.
have a great week. All right.
Thank you. Yeah.
All right, Nick. Oh, wait. There we go. We are off. We are